guys, I am Bianca and welcome back to CrochetingX. This video is part 2 of this amazing Christmas cat tutorial. Well, if you just got here to the channel, I'll leave the link to part 1 here in the description. So, okay, let's move on to this amazing crochet tutorial. The slip knot. Adjust it in your crochet hook. And round 22 we'll make something a bit different. So in this round we'll only use the front loops, but making slip stitches, okay? So the sequence that we are going to do here is using the front loops. You make 1, and one of my tips here for this part is to not keep the stitches very tight like this in your crochet hook, because it will get more difficult if you do that. You can leave it a little bit loose, the yarn here and the crochet hook. So you make 1, 2 slip stitches, and now you make 1 increase of slip stitches. So you make 1 slip stitch, another slip stitch, a bit loose. So you see we have like 4 4 slip stitches. We have 1, 2 single crochets, and this, the increase of slip stitches. This is the sequence that we have to do. 2 slip stitches and 1 increase of slip stitches, but only using the front loops of the round. Make it one more time with you, like 1, 2, and a bit loose, you make the increase. I'll keep doing this and I will come back in the end of the round. Okay, so I finished round 22 and I have 40 stitches here in the sequence. I know it does not look pretty at all, but believe me, it will look very beautiful when we continue. I have another sample here that I can show you. It works really well. Okay, so this is round 22. And now on round 23, we'll use the back loops. Before that, I forgot to cut the yarn here. We won't use the green thread anymore. I just tie a knot and leave the yarn inside the amigurumi. Now we can move on to round 23. And in this round, we will work in the back loops, okay? And the sequence that we have to do is 3 single crochets and 1 increase. You do that 10 times. So back loops, 1, 2, 3 single crochets. You see that the finishing is very beautiful. I know that when we look at the slip stitches like this, it does not look pretty at all, but when we look at this, it has a very beautiful look. Okay, so here I finished round 23. We made 3 single crochets and 1 increase, only using the back loops. So now, round 24, we will make 9 single crochets and 1 increase, okay? So in round 23, we had 50 single crochets, and now for round 24, we will make 9 single crochets, 1 increase, and we end up with 55 single crochets. But now you use both loops, okay? So this is my first single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 increase. You'll do the sequence 5 times. I'll keep doing it and I will come back in the end of the round. Okay, so I finished here round 24, which we made 9 single crochets and 1 increase. I ended up with 55 single crochets in this round. So now from round 25 to round 34, we will only make single crochets, okay? So from round 25 to 34, we will have 55 single crochets in each round, okay? So I will keep making my single crochets here for 10 rounds, and I will come back when I finish them. Okay, so I finally finished my 10 rounds with 55 single crochets in each round, okay? So from round 25 to round 34, I made 55 single crochets. And now we can start stuffing it. I strongly recommend you start stuffing, but don't stuff the head part, just the body, okay? There's another video here in the channel where I teach how to stuff an amigurumi correctly. I will leave the link here in the description so you can check it, okay? Stuffing is a very crucial part in amigurumis. I always say that people take it for granted, but it's very important to stuff it correctly. Don't take like a big bowl of stuffing like this and try to put it at once in your amigurumi. You can always split your fiber like this. Take a small amount. You can also make some balls, small balls like this. And with the help of your fingers, you try to adjust the fiber in your toy. Okay, that's enough for now. There's no need to complete the whole body. I just started placing the stuffing because it's better to do it now. Okay, round 35. On round 35, we will make 9 single crochets and 1 decrease. So that's the sequence. Make 9 single crochets, 1 decrease 5 times. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 single crochets, 1 decrease. I'll keep doing the sequence until the end of the round and I will come back. Finished round 35. We made 9 single crochets and 1 decrease, and I have 50 single crochets in this round. We'll make one more round before we place the eyes, okay? So round 36 now. Round 36, we will make 3 single crochets and 1 decrease 10 times, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 1 decrease. That's what you have to do all over the round, okay? 3 single crochets, 1 decrease 10 times. I'll continue making the sequence and I will come back. So I finished round 36 here. I made 3 single crochets and 1 decrease, and we have 40 single crochets here in this round. So now we stop decreasing. Before we continue decreasing to close the amigurumi head, we will apply the safety eyes. I have very tight stitches. I usually crochet with a very tight stitch, so this is a bit tricky to insert the eyes here between stitches. So I have a few tools here that usually help me to create this space. But before we do that, it's important to measure where we are going to apply the safety eyes, okay? So the eyes of these amigurumi are placed between rounds 28 and 29 with 9 single crochets apart from each other. I have another example here that I already made to show you. So the eyes are placed between rounds 28 and 29, and I have 9 single crochets here, one eye apart from the other, okay? We embroider the nose later on in this video. So this round here is 23, okay? I usually like to leave the stitch marker here behind. I will use the pins just to mark what is the round that I'm going to create. There's a space to insert the safety eyes. So here we have round 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this is the place, okay, rounds 28 and 29 that I am going to insert the safety eyes. Let's do it again. Round 23. You can start counting from here, but I already know that this is 23, so that's why I'm starting from this point. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay, perfect. So this is the place. And how can you create this space? Because here is the place that I pinned. It's impossible to insert something like that. It's very large. It will never fit. So I have some tools. I usually start creating space with the crochet hook that I was crocheting my amigurumi. But if I do that, I insert my crochet hook to create the hole, it's still not enough. And that's why it's important to measure, because after you create this hole, and I don't know, you created the hole in the wrong place in your amigurumi, well, it gets messy. So you don't want to do that. I have bigger crochet hook sizes because we are crocheting the amigurumi with a 2.2. I also have this crochet hook here. It's a very old one, 4.5, and this is usually one of my favorites to help creating the space. I also have this one here. This one is more difficult to use, but it's 7mm. It's just something that helps me creating this space. Some people like to create the space using scissors. I don't like this idea that much because you might cut the stitches and, well, it would be a disaster. What else do I have here? Well, I have tweezers. These are good also to create the space. And I think it's less dangerous than using scissors to create the space. You might have seen me in other videos and photos using this material here. This is a Brazilian brand. I really like it. It's designed just to open space between stitches. So I don't think this kind of material is sold anywhere else besides Brazil. But this is very good because, I mean, it starts very thin like a crochet hook and it gets bigger like this crochet hook size, for example. So this is my favorite material to create the space. You just press, and I usually press it really hard because, as I said, my stitches are like very, very tight. And now you see it's a big hole, okay? So with your big hole created, it's time to insert the first safety eye, and don't make both holes, okay, at the same time. Just do the first one. Follow this explanation here because you will understand. Okay, So I placed the first amigurumi eye. It's good, you see, I created the hole that I wanted. It's a safe place. And why did I tell you not to make the second hole? Because this is easier now. You see that the size of the amigurumi, the safety eye, it occupies like one more single crochet. So I inserted, let me see if you can see it by here. I inserted here, but when I press it, it usually occupies another single crochet. Okay? And I don't know if you remember, but I told you that we need 9 single crochets here, one eye apart from the other. So now we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But if I insert here, because of the size of the safety eye, it will occupy the space of this single crochet. So I just give 1 stitch more distance. Now if we count, we have 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 single crochets. And that's perfect. I'm still between rounds 28 and 29, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay, so I'm still between rounds 28 and 29. I'm 10 stitches apart because when I insert this other safety eye, it will hide this single crochet here, and then I will have 9 single crochets apart from each other. So I have already my big hole here. Now we insert, and it's very easy to apply the safety eye now because we created enough space to do it. You see? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's okay. Oh, yeah, it's 9. I was just not pressing it hard enough. Okay, so we have 9 single crochets between both eyes. Now you can use this, the safety, so the eyes won't escape, okay? There are lots of different materials, but you can use the one you have with you. There are some people who like to use this like this, but I prefer to use in the opposite way. I think it's safer. You can listen the click. Yeah. Now it looks like it's almost impossible to escape. I will do the same with the other. So now that we have our safety eyes placed, we will now embroider the nose. The nose is embroidered between rounds 27 and 28, so we see 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? So between rounds 27 and 28, we will use the space of 3 single crochets horizontally and 2 rounds here vertically, okay? We'll use the pink, the light pink color, and the tapestry needle. I already marked with pins here. Makes it easier. So first, using the space of 3 single crochets, you pass the thread 2 times horizontally. I made it once. Now the second. And now we will pass this thread vertically several times to make the nose. There is another tutorial here in the channel where I teach how to do it, like very, very slowly and carefully for those who have never done that before. So if you are not sure how to do this type of nose, please check the link, which is also in the description. Okay, I'll pass it one more time vertically. And now we have to make the vertical line here between the nose. So I'll insert my tapestry needle here in the middle. And you can do this procedure just once and it's enough. Like a vertical line here. It's not that perfect, so I will do it again because it's not exactly in the middle. And that's totally fine. In my case here, I'm a perfectionist. So in my case here, I have to insert my tapestry needle in the middle of the stitch. So we have the nose here. I just cut the remaining thread, tie a knot inside the head. There's no need to cut it, you can leave it here because we are still going to stuff this head. And that's it. I even like to use all the remaining thread that I used in the project, like this. Just put it inside your toy. Okay, so now we are going to make the details of the eyes. So first of all, we'll make this beige part here. This is the same beige color that we use for the arms, the tail, okay? So let's do this part here first. With the tapestry needle, you enter here like in the outer corner of the eye, like this. And you just contour the eyes with the thread. So I want it to end, if you want it to end here or here, it's up to you. I'll finish the contouring here. Very simple. You enter, adjust the yarn with your fingers, and as simple as that, you cut the yarn and tie a knot. And that's what I'll do. It's getting very, very beautiful. And now with the black, or I don't know, the color you want to make like this upper part of in the eyes. This one is a very dark gray color. I love this color. The name of the color is here in the description. It's the one from Hobby that I mentioned in the beginning. You can check that later. So for this part, I just insert my crochet hook here. So I like to check what is the line that the eye finishes here. So it's basically that stitch here. And I want it to make like this curve. It won't be curved for now, but we will make it work, don't worry. And I'll insert it here. Can you see? Okay, look how cute it is. And you do the same procedure. Cut the yarn, tie the knot, and leave the yarn inside the head, okay? Repeat this procedure in the other side, so then we can move on to close the amigurumi head. So now that we finished all the embroidery, the nose, the eyes, everything, we can continue with the head. Don't know if you remember, but here we stopped in round 36 and we have 40 single crochets. So now on round 37, we will make 3 single crochets and 1 decrease. I know it's again the same sequence. We will make 1, 2, 3 single crochets and 1 decrease. You repeat the sequence 8 times and you finish with 32 single crochets. I will keep doing it and I will come back in the end of the round. Finished round 37 and I have 32 single crochets. You can continue stuffing, and my advice for you here is stuff as you go, okay? I don't like to keep it full of stuffing very close to the round that I'm crocheting, because you start to crochet and when you pull the crochet hook, you sometimes can bring stuffing with you and the amigurumi looks very messy. So I always like to keep stuffing a little bit below the level of the round that I'm crocheting. Another very important tip, by the way. But you can stuff the way you prefer. If you are already experienced with it, you can keep stuffing and reshaping the amigurumi with your hands, because to keep the shape is all about stuffing, guys. I always say it. It's all about stuffing. So now we move on to round 38. And round 38 we make 2 single crochets and 1 decrease 8 times, okay? So I'll keep making my sequence here and I will come back in the end of the round. So 2 single crochets, I made 1, 2, 1 decrease, you do it 8 times and you get 24 single crochets in the end. Okay, so I finished round 38 with 24 single crochets. Now round 39, and this is the penultimate round that we have here. On round 29, we will make 1 single crochet and 1 decrease. So I made 1 single crochet and now 1 decrease, and keep doing the sequence until the end of the round. So you will get 16 single crochets in the end of this round. This part I usually keep my stitches even tighter to avoid holes. Decreases are like the worst when it comes to creating holes in your amigurumi, and we don't want that. So I usually leave the loop very, very tight in my crochet hook, and I try to bring like this. I don't know if you can see that well. I try to bring my stitch very close to the next one that I want to insert my crochet hook, so that way we avoid creating holes. I finished round 39 here. I have 16 single crochets. As I said, you can stuff as you go. I will put more stuffing. I'll see where is a bit empty here in the toy. So carry the stuffing with your fingers in these empty spaces. Always taking care, like you don't want to overstuff it, so it will look weird also, but leaving empty is not a good idea either. You see, I think I use all my fingers. I'm just realizing that now, because sometimes there's just a small space, so I use the small finger, and yeah. Okay, it looks good. Let's make the last round before we close it. So round 40, we will make 8 decreases. So keep the stitches tight, like the loops very tight in the crochet hook, so you won't create big holes on top of the head. 1 decrease, you can mark with the stitch marker. Okay, so I finished round 40 here. I made 8 decreases and I have 8 single crochets. Now we will abandon our stitch marker. We won't use it anymore, at least not for this part. If you feel like there are still some empty spaces here, what I like doing, and you can also check it on the video that I told you about stuffing, is to use the tweezers. They are really helpful because, well, at least my fingers cannot enter here anymore to try to help me put stuffing inside the amigurumi. So this is a very good tip because you can, I like taking a bowl of stuffing like this. You can do this, and with the help of the tweezers, you insert the stuffing inside the amigurumi. But of course, if you pull it, the stuffing will come out with the tweezers. So with your, in my case, I'm right-handed, so I'll use my left hand to hold it, and that's it. The stuffing is inside the amigurumi. I will do it a couple of times so you can see how do I do that, because it's still a bit empty here. You take a bowl of stuffing like this, you roll the stuffing in the tweezers like this, press with your right hand, insert the tweezer in the amigurumi where there are the empty spaces that you want to fill. With your left hand, you hold it, pull the tweezers, and that's it. Okay, I think that's good enough. So now I will cut a piece of thread. It does not need to be like very long, but don't cut it very short either, like a medium size. I'll cut it like this. And I usually prefer to cut a large piece of thread because, I mean, it's easier than if you cut it too short and there's no way to join yarn here to do it. Okay, so now we will close it with the inverted magic ring. If you have never seen this technique before, there is another video here in the channel also which I explain it in very detailed instructions on how to do it. I'll leave the link down below, but I will close it now. We closed the amigurumi, the head. And how do we hide this knot? Well, I use this invisible knot technique, which I created myself because when I started creating amigurumis, there weren't many tutorials available out there. So lots of techniques that I still use, I had to develop myself because there was no explanation on how to do it. So I usually like to take, you can take any loop from any stitch that is next to the thread that you want to cut, for example. Okay, so I inserted and it created a loop. You pass the yarn in the middle of the loop and then you create a small knot. That's why I call it invisible knot. You enter the tapestry needle in the same hole, like next to the knots that you created. You pass the needle in any space, like in your amigurumi, you can pass it in at any point. And when you do that, we have the knot here. You see that the knot enters the amigurumi. I'll make it once again so you can see it better. Like, this was a very good example actually, because I tried to insert my needle here and this was not an easy loop, so that's okay, just give up. Don't try to force it. Maybe you can open not a very good stitch. I try to take any easy loop. Okay, this one was easy. I create a loop here, insert the needle inside this loop, tie a knot. I don't want this knot here, I want to hide it. So I enter the amigurumi, pass the needle at any point in your amigurumi, pull it, and that's it. You hide it. Now you can cut the remaining thread, and for now, that's it. That's the whole body of our amigurumi. Before we continue, there is another technique that I think would be very beautiful for this amigurumi here. That is to indent the eyes like I did with this one. Again, there is a video here in the channel. You can see that I already created lots of different tutorials to help you in your amigurumi journey. And I'll also leave the link for this video in the description. But yeah, this is a very useful technique. There are lots of people who prefer to indent the amigurumi eyes when the head is still open, but I prefer to do it when it's closed. And how do we do it? You insert, using the same thread of the color of the head, in our case it's white, I insert like this at any point, and you come out with the needle very close to the eyes. It can be at any point in the eyes. I will use this space here. So I insert again very close to the eyes at this point here, or here, it's up to you. But again, it must be very close to the border of the eyes. And you enter the needle and you come out with it in amigurumi in the same place where you started. Pull the needle like this. Okay, Bianca, but it looks ugly. So pull the threads like this. You see that it starts to indent? You do this, and you can barely see the yarn because most of the times you do that, the yarn enters behind the safety eyes. So you just pull the yarn like this, tie a knot with these two remaining threads, and then there is another technique that I use to hide my thread. You cut it like this, pull it, put this knot inside the amigurumi, and you see we hide the knot, cut the remaining thread, and it looks perfect. You cannot even see it. Okay, so I finished sinking, like indenting the eyes of my amigurumis. It looks very, very pretty. And now we are going to create, like, it looks like a hat. But the idea, when we place it like this in our cat, the idea is that he's wearing like a Christmas tree outfit. That's why his body has this triangle shape, and with the hat, so it looks like he's wearing like a Christmas tree outfit, and it's very, very pretty. So let's make this hat part now. With the green color, as always, we start with the magic ring. And we make 6 single crochets inside the magic ring. So let's do it together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 single crochets inside the magic ring. Pull the thread to close the magic ring, and now we have our round number 1. For round number 2, we make 1 single crochet and 1 increase. So let's do this together because this is a very short round. I make my first single crochet, place the stitch marker, and then you have 1 increase, 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and the last one, 1 single crochet, 1 increase. So you have to do the sequence 3 times, and we end up with 9 single crochets in the second round. You see that it's curving like inside, and this is not what we want, so make sure you adjust it so it creates the triangle that we want. And for round number 3, you just make 9 single crochets, okay? So you just repeat the single crochets. So now we have round 3 with 9 single crochets, and round 4 we make 2 single crochets, 1 increase. And the last one, 2, 1 increase. Okay, great. This is our round number 4. In round number 5, we will repeat the sequence like 12 single crochets, but now we will only use the back loops. Okay, so I finished round 5 here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay, using the back loops. And now for round 6, we make 1 single crochet and 1 increase, but now using both loops. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase. You repeat the sequence 6 times, and you will get 18 single crochets in the end of the round. So 1, 1 increase, 1, 1 increase, and I'll keep doing it until the end of the round. Okay, so I finished round 6 here. 1 single crochet, 1 increase 6 times. We end up with 18 single crochets. And now for round 7, we will use only the back loops, okay? And we just repeat the sequence, single crochets, using back loops, and we get 18 single crochets at the end of the round. So I finished round 7 here, 18 single crochets using back loops. Now for round 8, we will use both loops. We continue increasing. I don't know if you realized that, but I always make non-centralized increases because I don't like the triangles that it forms. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments what are those centralized increases so I can make a video talking about it. So yeah, I made this technique to create the body, the head, and now I'm making for this head the same technique. Instead of doing 2 single crochets and 1 increase for the entire round, we will make 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Now we make 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and 1 increase. So now you keep making 2 single crochets and 1 increase, 1, 2, and 1 increase. I guess I'll make this one with you. 1, 2 single crochets, 2 single crochets, 1 increase, 1, 2 single crochets, 1 increase, and then we have 1 single crochet left to be worked on. We just make a single crochet here. So we end this round number 8, with 24 single crochets. Now for round number 9, we will use, guess what? Back loops. And using the back loops, we will repeat 24 single crochets. So I'll keep making my single crochets here using the back loops, and I will come back in the end of the round. So I finished here round 9, making 24 single crochets in the back loops. So again, we have the loops to be worked on. I had already removed my stitch marker. So now on round 10 we use both loops and we make 3 single crochets and 1 increase 6 times. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets, 1 increase. I will keep making this sequence and I come back when I finish the round. It's getting very pretty. We already finished round 10 here using both loops, 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Round 11, and again the penultimate round. Round 11 we use the back loops and we just repeat the sequence, okay? Here we have 30 single crochets. I don't know if I mentioned, but in round 10 we have 30 single crochets, and now for round 11 we just repeat the sequence of making single crochets but using back loops, and in the end of the round you should get 30 single crochets. My round 11 with 30 single crochets in the back loops, and for the last round we will make increases and the non-centralized ones that I mentioned before. So here I made my first single crochet, and now we make 1, 2 single crochets, 1 increase, 1 time. Now we make 4 single crochets and 1 increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochets. Sorry, 5 no. I made 1, 2, 1 increase, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is an increase. Almost in the end of the pattern and I'm getting a bit tired here. Okay, so we continue. 4 single crochets, like 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets, 1 increase, and let's keep doing it until the end of the round. Finally, we got to the end. 4 single crochets, 1 increase. We have 2 single crochets here left to be worked on, and we make 1, 2 single crochets. Oops. And that's the end of this hat part. Let me take my amigurumi here. You see how cute it is? And that's it. So in this hat part, now I just cut this yarn here. You fasten it off. There is a video here in the channel in which I teach how to fasten off. Remove the stitch marker. We won't need that anymore. There is nothing else, and there is no other part of the amigurumi to be crocheted here. And let's recap. We have the feet, and we embroidered it already. We have the tail. We have the arms. We have both ears and this pinky color that we are going to place like this inside the ears. The body, of course, and the hat. Well, in the beginning of the video, I told you there was a reason to create these loops in our amigurumi, the same way that we did here in the hat. And I will show you how to do it with the hat, but it's exactly what you have to do with the body, okay? You place the amigurumi like this, upside down. I insert the hook here. This is like the first loop, the first front loop that was created here. I guess, let me see, it was round 5. Yeah, that we started working on the back loops. So we start from this point. You take the green yarn and you tie a slip knot the same way that we did when we wanted to change colors in the pattern. So now you bring the slip knot here like this, make a chain, and one slip stitch in the same loop. This is just to hold the yarn so it doesn't escape, okay? The sequence that we will work here is you make 2 chains, okay? Hope you can see it well. Make 2 chains, make 1 slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. In the next loop, in the hat, you make 1 slip stitch, and that's it. You created like this small triangle here, okay? This is what you have to do in the entire hat and the body. Make 1 slip stitch, 1, 2 chains, 1 slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, close it with 1 slip stitch in the next loop of the hat. One slip stitch, 1, 2, 1 slip stitch in the second chain, close it with a slip stitch, and start it all over. 1 slip stitch, 1, 2. There's no need to keep the yarn very tight to the crochet hook here. I think it will look even prettier if you let it a bit loose, okay? My yarn is splitting a bit. So the sequence that you have to do here is you make 1 slip stitch, 2 chains, 1 slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, close it with a slip stitch in the following loop in the amigurumi, and continue the sequence. So I closed it here. I'll make another slip stitch, 1, 2, slip stitch in the chain, close it with 1 slip stitch, make another slip stitch in the chain, in the amigurumi, 1, 2, and close it here. Okay, I wanted to do all this round with you for a reason. First of all, see how pretty it is? Our Christmas tree. It looks very, very pretty, isn't it? Like a small star when seen from this angle. Before we continue, I wanted to do this round with you for a couple of reasons. First of all, of course, I have to show you how to do this technique. Second, we have this remaining thread here that we used to start. It keeps bothering us, so my tip for you is, with the help of the tapestry needle, enter this yarn in the hat like this, so it's hidden inside. It won't bother you anymore. If you want, you can tie a knot with this thread and also the thread that you started the magic ring, and then you cut it so it won't bother you anymore. So this is my first tip. And the second thing here is, okay, Bianca, we finished the round, and now I don't have loops to continue in the following round because we made like there is a space here between the loops. So what should I do? You just insert the hook here in the first loop of the following round. Make one slip stitch and then you continue. 1, 2 single crochets, slip stitch, single crochet in the following to close it, make another slip stitch and continue the sequence. 1, 2. Okay, so I'll keep making this round 2, and when I come here in the end of the round, I will show you again how to go to the next round of loops. As I promised, I came back. I finished round 1 and 2 making this details in the tree. Okay, and now we have to go to the next round. So no secrets here. I made a slip stitch to close this last triangle that I did. I just insert the hook here in the first loop of the next round, make a slip stitch and move on, making 1, 2 chains, a slip stitch, close it with a slip stitch in the following loop, and that's it. So you make the sequence all over the hat, and you have to do the same in the body, okay? So as you can see, I'm almost finishing. I worked in all the front loops here, so I have 4 layers, but we will also work in the front loops of this last round here, okay? So what we should do, we do the same procedure to go to the next round, the same way that we did with other layers. As you can see, we can barely see where it ends one round and continue and starts the other. So you use now the front loops here of the last round and make the same procedure, okay? So I finished the hat. Look how cute it is. I love it. Look, it's really pretty. You can either leave like a long thread to you can either leave a long thread to sew in your amigurumi, or you cut here like a short piece of thread to fasten off, and you can glue it in the amigurumi. To be honest with you, I don't like sewing that much, so if I can avoid it, I usually do. But if you prefer to sew this part, my tip for you is I usually do it like this. To measure the amount of yarn that I will use to sew it, I do it like this, and a bit more, like half of it more. I always prefer to waste a bit of yarn than missing it when sewing. Okay, so this would be more or less the amount of thread to sew it in the amigurumi, if you prefer to do that, okay? Okay, so now that we did the hat, we have to do the same thing with the body. Remember that we placed the hat like this, upside down. This is because we want this, I don't know, let's suppose these are the leaves of the trees. We want them like this, falling down. We don't want them in the opposite way. So as we want them to look like this, we have to work upside down. We will do the same with the cat, the body. I confess, in this first round here, it will be a bit more difficult because it's very close to the head, but believe me, it's not impossible. I've done that before. When it gets to the second round on, it will get way easier. So you do the same, insert the crochet hook here. I will tie my slip knot, adjust the loop in my crochet hook, insert the crochet hook here, and you do the same thing. One slip stitch. I'll do it again because I was not recording it really well, guys. I'm sorry for that. Oh, let me remove this pin, it's not marking anything. Okay, so I did my first slip stitch. 1, 2 chains, 1 slip stitch from the second chain in a hook, and you continue with 1 slip stitch, another slip stitch, you see that it's a bit more difficult in this round. Not impossible, believe me, but it's just a bit more tricky because it's next to the head, but I'm pretty sure you'll manage to do that, because just be patient, because it's possible. And something that I'm taking care of it here, I'm also recording it, so it's a bit more difficult because of it, but something that I'm taking care of is when I insert the hook here, it was easier in the hat because there was no stuffing. So I could just, sometimes my crochet hook entered like this, and that it was perfectly okay. But if you do that mistake now in the body, the problem is that, let me take another example here. The other body that I made here, if I do it wrong, I take some stuffing. Can you see? I don't want to remove the stuffing because I'll ruin my amigurumi. But if you don't do that very patiently, like taking all the loops very patiently, you may enter the crochet hook in the amigurumi and remove stuffing. And we don't want that to happen, okay? So that's why I'm so careful here in the body now. I got lost. Yeah, 1 slip stitch, I have to do another slip stitch. 1, 2 chains. And that's it, guys. That's the same mantra that you have to follow from round 1 to the last, this last loop here. I will keep doing it and I will come back when I finish. So I finished the leaves of the tree here all over our beautiful cat's body. It's very pretty, isn't it? Look how cute it is with the hat. And I also have all the amigurumi parts here. But before we start sewing everything, I like to pin. And I have a box here full of pins, as you can see, that are different sizes. This big one will not be very helpful because it's a very tiny amigurumi. Look at the size of this pin. But I have others like this one with a leaf, this one that looks like a button, this cute duck one. I guess these are almost, yeah, they're in the same size. So yeah, before we sew, I will pin everything. And this is always my recommendation because, well, I don't like sewing and I think I already mentioned it. And it's awful when you sew something and it's not well placed. You have to remove and sew it again. So to avoid this, I like to pin all the parts and sew one by one. And I only fasten off the yarn when I place the other and I see that they're even. So I already made this first one here, the first ear, just to explain it to you, because I could have already fastened off this yarn, but this is not what I'm going to do, because, well, maybe if when I place the second one I realize that this is not the best position to this ear, so I prefer to leave it like this, and if I don't like it, I just pull it like this and start pulling the yarn, which I'm not going to do. And I can remove and sew it again, okay? So I will start pinning the arms and I will place the arms. There's no need to stuff it, okay? There's no stuffing inside these arms. You just press it like this, folding it in half. We are going to sew it with the remaining thread to close this arm like this. let me take the needle. So with the remaining thread, we sew both parts in order to close it, like this. You pass the needle in zigzag, the yarn, to close it like this, okay? You do the same with the second arm, and you place it between these two rounds here of leaves. I'll call it like leaves. And you place it here, okay? Let me pin it first, because we are going to sew it like this in the middle of these two layers, okay? I paused the video because I also had to sew the other arm like this, and with the remaining thread we are still going to sew it in a cat. Again, we place it between the second and the third layer, and now you can stuff the feet. And to stuff it, because it's a very small piece of amigurumi, use tweezers. Okay, so for the arms we place them like this, and now for the feet we're going to sew the feet here. Oops. I'm sorry, I was looking at the amigurumi and not the video. So yeah, we will sew it here. But before we sew it, now we have to stuff it. And to stuff this amigurumi, I strongly recommend using tweezers. The same way that we did with the head. Small amigurumi parts like this one, using tweezers are really helpful. I took a big bowl, misplayed it. You stuff it a little bit. Okay, so you will stuff both feet, and again you will place it with pins before sewing. Okay, I pinned the first leg. Now let's take the other leg. First, use fiber. I think this is a big ball again. What do you think? Is this a good idea? It looks like a good place, isn't it? Good. So now I will sew everything and then I'll come back. Actually, no, change of plans. I will sew just one part so you can see how I do that. As I said before, this is not my favorite part either. But yeah, let's do it together. So I don't know if you can see that there are some stitches here from the other round that didn't have loops. You can just insert the needle in these stitches like this. Pass the yarn again in zigzag in the arms. And I decided to do that because I want to show you how I hide the yarn when I sew something like this. Okay, the correct thing to do is sew one arm, sew the other, and then you fasten off, because, I already told you the reason. We have to sew them both first, so you see that they are even. You don't want one arm here and one here, or like in the back. So yeah, let's suppose I already sewed both of them. What I will do to hide is insert the crochet hook and pass this thread to any white part in your amigurumi. It could be the head. I think it will be easier for me to go to the bottom part of the amigurumi like this. Okay, So pass the thread, oops, like this, okay? And now that this is in the same color, the white color, we will use the technique of the invisible knot, the same one that we used to close the head. You can choose any loop next to where your needle came out of the amigurumi. You tie a knot, enter the amigurumi like this. You see that the knot is here. When I pull the thread, I hide the knot and you can't even see it anymore. And that's it. Okay, so I will sew all these parts and then I come back to finish our toy. So I already sewed both arms and the feet. It looks very, very beautiful. And now we are going to sew the second ear. And how do we measure if it's like even, both places are, both ears, I'm sorry, are in the same place? So let's observe. Remember that this is round 23. So 23, 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is round 30. And this, in round 30, is where the bottom of the ear starts. And another thing that we should pay attention is the distance between the eyes and the ears. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 single crochets apart from the eyes, and it starts on round 30. And this is the measure that I did here, and that's why I already placed the pin. I have 6 single crochets here, and it starts on round 30. I sewed it diagonally, so it looks like this. But let's place the second pin. And where is it? So this was round 30. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Yeah, so between 35 and 36, I can do it like this to follow the sequence. And it should be here. But again, I can measure like the distance from the eyes. It always helps. So yeah, I have 1, 2, 3 single crochets. I have 1, 2. So it should be here in the second stitch. Okay, so I can sew in this direction. So let's do it. And then we can see, but you see that the yarn is still here. Don't fasten off. Maybe after sewing you decide that this is not the best place. When we put the ears like this, it looks like they're even, isn't it? They're both in the same place. Excellent. So I'll sew this part and I will come back when it's finished. So I finished sewing the second ear. As you can see, they're even, the arms are even, the feet is even. Good. So now we can fasten off all this remaining thread. Okay, let me see. I have my hat here. It's amazing, isn't it? And there's only one part left actually to sew, which is the tail. But I guess you remember that we did this small detail here. And I think for this part it's better to glue instead of sewing, because this I just want here in the middle of the ears. That's why it's important that it's a bit curved like this. So what should we do in this part? So for this small detail here, I just tie a knot this remaining thread. It's a very small knot and it won't even appear. Okay, cut this remaining thread. You cut very close to the knot, and now you can just put a drop of glue. Okay, there's no need to put lots of glue, just a drop, and place it here in the inner part of the ear. Our beautiful Christmas cat already looks like this. It's sewed, I glued the inner part, and we have the tail. This is a pipe cleaner, so it's a very small wire, and I will use it here because I want the tail to be like this. Okay, I want it to be up, so that's why I will use the support of the wire in this case. Okay, another important thing is that I want the tail to appear here in the cat. I don't want it like in the back. You can sew it anywhere you want, it's completely up to you, but I think it looks very pretty like this in the side. So that's where I will sew it. So first I will insert the wire here. Okay, it's even coming out here because it's very thin. I will cut it. It's so thin. Yeah. This is not very strong scissors and it can cut because it's not very strong. But it's strong enough to bend the way that I want. Here. Oh my god, it's so cute. And yeah, I will sew it here. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches away from the foot. Okay, so we finally come to the end of the video. I like the place where it's sewed. I like it like this. You can, as I said before, glue or sew it. I fastened off the remaining thread because I prefer to sew. You can place the hat like this, and here it is. Okay, so we finally have our cute cat here. I still haven't glued it, but that's okay, you already got the idea. But I just had another idea to make our cat even more beautiful and Christmas style. I have these colorful beads here, and I bought this transparent sewing thread. So I decided to use these beads as Christmas balls, Christmas ornaments for this tree. I know it's a cat wearing a tree outfit, I'm sorry. But I think it will look very cute with this kind of beads. It's just an idea. Maybe you can do that in your cat too, to, I don't know, make it more Christmassy. So I took the smallest tapestry needle that I had here at home. It will be almost impossible for you to see that by the video. Okay. So you can take one of these balls here, pass the tapestry needle, and sew one of these beads in your tree at any point that you want. I'll take just one part like this. As you can see, I'll pass it again in the other direction, and again in the same part in the amigurumi. As it is transparent, it's very good because no one will see that. Okay, it's well fixed. And you can do that as many times as you want to decorate your amigurumi. And that's it. Now you have your beautiful Christmas crochet cat, and I'm pretty sure you'll love it, your friends will love it, and it's the perfect decoration for your home during Christmas season.